like put the phone there. Okay, we're live. Just give me a sec while I just sort this out.
Okay.
And then put this here. So my hand's in the way. Just move over there. We're not going to be watching that, but what's on screen right now. But so yeah, hi everyone. Welcome to a brand new stream. I've got three geezers: Andrew, Elliot, and Ryan. But Elliot's going to be here like soon. Ryan's gone to the toilet.
Yeah.
Only because, I don't know, Elliot just had to go for... Elliot had to do something quick, so... And obviously I couldn't just delay the stream any longer, so...
No.
So I'm just going to have to type up Mr. Nightmare. There it is. That's a bit convenient if you ask me. So, there's been quite a few videos since the last one that we did. Okay. So, it's been a while... So, there was like many more videos since the last one we did. And by the way, we've had a haircut.
Yay!
So, yeah, there's been quite a couple more videos since the last episode. Well, the last episode of this riddle series.
Dun dun dun.
So, it's been like a week since we got... So, there's been like a couple new videos, but not that much though. One was just a re-upload, because I don't know what happened. It just re-uploaded one that we've watched already. The lockdown stories. That was part 4. I don't know why it got re-uploaded. It just did. So, bloody hell, Ryan, how long does it take to go to the toilet? Jesus Christ.
Why did he went to?
We went to the toilet. We're not professional. So, yeah, there's been like 2 proper videos. Proper, that's not been a re-upload. So Ryan's going to be coming through that door. Right about...
No.
Nope. Ready?
No.
Nope.
No.
Yes. Ryan, you're in the camera.
Yay.
Here he is.
I know we're not starting with that one. Oh wait, yeah.
Hi, Ryan.
I've literally just...
Hi, your adopted kid.
Oh, come on.
Oh, look at you then.
No.
So, yeah, I've just literally decided you've not really missed much. So, as I said, Elliot's going to be coming in a bit later on because he's doing something. These 2 geezers are here.
Swim.
There's been quite a few more videos since the last one. One was just a re-upload, the one we've already watched in
Ryan.
before.
That's my name.
Why is there a WhatsApp group called You're Idiots?
You would, yeah, no, I don't know.
So, okay, so the first one we're going to watch, we'll get to that in a minute, but how are you guys today? Ryan's not been in a video for a while. So,
Looking very.
Yeah.
he's looking lavish.
I him.
You didn't. Thanks for the drink.
You're welcome. I value it. Come on, are you going to start it or I'm going to get bored?
Oh, yeah, I'm getting bored of your nonsense.
Oh, you're going to punch, bro.
Be careful of the camera equipment!
Well, hurry up, brother. Brother, hurry up.
Be careful of the camera equipment!
Bro.
Ryan.
Bro. Hurry up.
Ryan.
I have a
Ryan!
headache. Guess worse, I'm going to be punching Callum.
Like, that's nice.
And tomorrow at school, I'll punch you.
Oh, who said you're even going to be in tomorrow? I don't think you would be in.
No.
Right, let's get with the first video.
What?
There's been 2 videos, but we are going to watch some older ones as well, because the ones that we've not watched, but not the older videos that we've not watched on the...
Have we watched one for...
Yeah, that was a re-upload.
Oh.
I don't know why they got re-uploaded, I don't know why. Okay, so this is 3 true military story. So
Then 3 disturbing, 3 scary stories.
okay, so
Yo, bro, we
let
don't
me
wanna
know
go
if you
back.
can hear this.
And I found a new
What? Wait, what?
a brand new
What's with the advert? Oh god, it just backed out.
Oh, come on.
Calm, screaming.
Andrew, can you hear this?
Meme.
Can you hear this, Andrew?
My dad served in the Vietnam War from 1960 to
Yeah.
1962.
For the longest time, he didn't tell anyone outside of the family this story.
Shut up.
But he's in his mid-80s now. He doesn't care about me sharing it with anyone. Not that I intend to release any of our names.
My
I've heard
name's
this story
Lawrence.
told by him 5 times now,
Lauren.
and each time I
Lawrence.
learn about new details he hadn't mentioned
Everyone
the time
knows your
before.
name. It's in your
He didn't like to tell this story for obvious reasons, I think. Not only is thinking back to any of those events probably traumatizing, but also he would always say he felt it would be an inappropriate family gathering discussion.
Inappropriate.
My dad did a lot of things in the war. At one point, he was what was known as a tunnel rat, which was a soldier who performed underground search and destroy missions, usually in underground tunnels. My dad and 2 of his comrades were crawling through a deep tunnel, expecting to hit a booby trap or run into an ambush, but the tunnels were surprisingly empty and silent. My dad describes the experience of crawling through the silent, dark tunnels as bone-chilling and adrenaline-pumping, as the fear of instant death at any moment would linger. My dad and his comrades heard a faint yelling and crying sound further down the tunnels. It was of a woman. As they crawled deeper into the tunnels, the cries and screams became more clear.
What the?
It was obvious there was a woman screaming for help. The 3 picked up their pace, worried of a potential hostage or a prisoner situation. As they continued to crawl through the tunnels, the cries for help got a little louder and clearer. They arrived to a small room that they could slightly get off their knees in. The ceiling was just high enough to half stand, half crouch. There was a small table with a lantern on it that was still lit. There were also 2 broken chairs and a locked safe box with some metallic objects that would rustle around inside the box when shaken.
How did they know you were
Aside from
there?
that, this small room was
Because they
empty.
could pop ears a
However, the
minute.
tunnel continued past this room.
I mean, they're quite
They
far.
continued deeper into the
This
tunnel.
person's
The
screaming,
screams for help had stopped
and
at
they
this point.
cannot like clearly
Dad
hear
described
it.
this
Obviously,
horrible,
they're quite
familiar
far
stench
away.
of death
Yeah.
that soon became
And they
overwhelming in the
obviously have
tunnels.
to be really like
They entered
slow.
one final room
in case
with
you're
no
on
further
track.
tunnels.
Okay.
My dad still refuses
Calm down,
to
calm
describe
down.
everything that was in this room in
I'm
detail,
just thinking about
other
it.
than there were multiple bodies, and they weren't killed by just bullets. They looked as though they'd been mutilated by some kind of creature. One of the bodies was that of a woman. The scene was so horrible that my dad and the 2 other tunnel rats had to turn around and flee. They had no explanation for what could have done what was seen in that room. When they crawled back out of the tunnels, they started hearing the cries for help in that woman's voice again. My dad says he and his comrades froze and looked at each other with wide eyes and obvious fear in their faces. They had made it to the end of that tunnel. There were no living things from there to the end of it, and those screams for help were coming from the direction that they just were. They picked up their pace even more. My dad was in the back of the group of 3, and he says he would look back every 10 seconds, thinking he was hearing sounds from behind him, fearing he would see someone or something approaching from the darkness. They made it back to the surface eventually, and marked the entrance with a flag that signified to his team that the tunnel had been searched and cleared. Most tunnels would be interconnecting as a means of underground transportation and cover, but my dad says this tunnel was unusual to abruptly end. He says it was easily the most gut-wrenching, horrific, nightmare-inducing thing he'd experienced in his entire 2 years in Vietnam.
Whoa. That's scary, bro.
It's not really. I don't find it that scary.
Just like dead bodies.
My basic training for the Air Force was at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. After that, I was sent to Shepherd Air Force Base for technical
Shepherd
support.
Air Force,
After
my brother.
graduation, I received orders to McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey.
COD on there.
There, my job.
Hey, COD.
COD, yeah. You've never heard of it.
Yes, it's called. No, I named a dog in my epic called Cod or Cat. Well, I forgot what it was.
No, do you know what COD
I think
stands
it's
for?
a cat.
Yeah, I think it is as well.
Do you know what it stands for?
Call of Duty.
Surprised you know that you've never even played it.
I've never watched Mr. Bean or Scooby Doo, so yeah.
Hmm?
I've never watched Scooby Doo or Mr. Bean, so that's.
True, but like a baby like you knowing something like that.
I'm not a baby. I'm like 4'5". No,
Yeah.
no. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. 6'5".
I don't even care.
Oh, 6 foot. Wow.
You're 5 foot.
Wow, you're only slightly taller than me.
No, Andrew's not.
Was aerospace
Well, I'm not
mechanic
Andrew,
at
trying
first.
to tell you.
started
know,
on
I can
night
tell
duty,
about that.
unfortunately, so my sleep schedule was basically non-existent. My duties basically were lugging plane parts like anti-ice valves, igniters, ignition exciters, sensors, and more from the warehouse to the flight line. It was for the most part boring, repetitive work, especially at night. A lot of sitting around and playing games on my phone, but nobody heard that from me.
Playing Minecraft.
had to be like 4 a.m. at this point. I was waiting for the other guy to come drop off some parts to the flight line. He'll be referred to as Mark for the purpose of the story. I
Mac.
was waiting by the back cargo area of the plane we were working on at the time, sitting on a box scrolling through my phone. Mark was taking an incredibly long time with his delivery, so I shot him a few texts. When they went unresponded to, I tried calling him a few times. The calls rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. I figured he was either screening his calls, lost his phone, or was just very busy at the moment.
Or before he can't be asked.
Waited, and he never showed up. Eventually, I got a call from Mark's number, so I picked up. But it wasn't Mark's voice on the other end. It was some random guy. It sounded like a grown man in his 40s. He said he saw I tried calling a few times and said he found this phone on the ground outside of the base. I described what Mark looked like and asked him if he had seen anyone who may have resembled him. He said he had not. It's not like he would have been allowed on the base, so my only option was to drive out there and meet him. I asked him where he was, and he gave me the name of a nearby joint where I agreed to meet him. I walked to my car, which was parked in the closest parking lot, and I drove off the base towards the place he told me to meet him. While I was mid-drive, I remembered Mark was sharing his location with me. Long story, though. We basically met these 2 girls this one night while off base, who we separated from each other with. We, as a joke, started sharing our locations with each other in case we got quote-unquote murdered, as we kept joking. We joked about it mainly because we met them at a sketchy dive bar, but I'm not about to get into that. The place the man on the phone told me to meet him was called Tara's Tavern in Cookstown, the closest town to the base. I pulled up the location of Mark's phone and it checked out. It showed Mark's phone location right next to Tara's Tavern. This begged the question, what was that man doing there this late? At this hour, the place wasn't open, and there were 0 cars on the road. I pulled into the little parking lot and parked. I stepped out and called Mark's phone again. The guy picked up, and he spoke in a noticeably lower voice now. I told him I was in the parking lot of the pub, and he said he was as well. He said in almost a whisper, "I'll be right over." Then he hung up. It was weirder in the moment than it sounds explaining it. I looked at the location on my phone to see if it was updating.
You're talking.
It seemed the location of
Over
Mark's
this.
phone was in this small patch of woods about 200 feet long and 200 feet wide. I tried calling again and it went straight to voicemail. I looked around the whole parking lot but didn't see anyone. I was all alone. Not even an occasional passing car. I looked to the woods when I heard something over the sound of the crickets, like someone's footsteps. And then I saw a man. It was him. He was standing just behind the tree line between the woods and the parking lot. He called to me, "Are you alone?"
No, I'm with the homies.
Freaky as hell. I called back, "No, why?" as I inched my way closer to my car. This was one giant red flag. He called back, "Who are you with?" I didn't answer that.
Your dad.
I got in my car and drove back to base. I called my supervisor and told him Mark was missing and someone was hiding in a patch of woods with his phone. My supervisor told me he was with Mark at that moment. He told me to meet them at the small building by the flight line. I met with the 2 and told them once again what I witnessed when tracking his phone. Mark told me what happened. While off the base, he was approached by somebody outside of a 24/7 convenience store, asking for a ride back to the base. Mark believed that he was actually in the Air Force at first and led him in the car. As they were driving, the man asked Mark to pull over by the woods so he could pee real quick. Mark obliged for some reason. As Mark was pulled to the side of the road by the same small patch of woods by Tara's Tavern, he wasn't paying attention for a minute, and his door was opened by the man. Without a second to even react, the man was grabbing Mark's arms and squeezing them as he tried to pull him out of the car. Mark said he kicked at the man's groin area until he let go. He dropped his phone and it fell out of the car during the struggle. But as he was free, he drove the car away with the door still open at first. And next thing that happened was he went back to the base to talk with our supervisor. We of course called the police and all went to Tara's Tavern to check if the man was still there. The location of Mark's phone was no longer popping up on the map. It's possible the man destroyed the phone. All we did was file a police report. Some people out there are actually crazy and dangerous. Who knows what he would have done to either of us if he had gotten us in the
Everyone's
woods.
just nice and deadly now.
Adverts.
When booking a trip, you might
Shut
be thinking to
up!
yourself,
Shut
"Well,
up! Shut
perhaps
up!
they go
Shut
on
up! Shut up, nigga.
Got some anger.
So that's the guy who thinks he's Dwayne Johnson.
During my days as a
I never
Marine,
said
I
that
had many
once.
different jobs on site.
Shut up, you
But but my least favorite was graveyard patrol. At one point, I was one of the few with the overnight graveyard patrol shift for a nearby memorial cemetery.
Sucks for you,
As you would
nerd.
imagine, it was a pretty slow shift with not much going on. Oddly enough, even though the cemetery was in a remote location surrounded by dense forest on each side, and I was working a literal graveyard shift, I found the job more relaxing than scary or unnerving. I would be the only one in the cemetery, and my relief would come around 4 a.m., which would be the end of my shift. So this had to have happened past 3 a.m., nearing the end of my shift.
Yeah, I
It was
know
on this
that. Quick
otherwise
maths.
regular night that I was patrolling near the perimeter fence where some of the older headstones were. I wasn't allowed to be on my phone. If I were to be caught with my phone, I would be reprimanded. Even though it was unlikely to be caught since there was no one else really
Elliot,
around
you
except
finally
me,
joined.
I tried my best to follow that rule. So
Just pause you for a minute.
Hello.
Hello, you are late. What are you doing? We are late.
I had to do something.
I know. So yeah, if you've not watched the stream up until this point, which is clearly you haven't, we're watching 3 Scary True Military series and we're on the last one. So that's all you basically missed, and they weren't really that scary anyway. So you've not missed that much.
No.
there's just a lot of walking around and looking at old headstones. But anyway,
Can you hear this anyway, Elliot?
patrolling past some of the older ones, I began to hear a woman's humming. It was this very calming, soothing kind of
What the?
Only I wasn't
Elliot,
calm
can
or
you hear
soothing,
this?
because nobody was supposed to be in the cemetery, so it was more so a cause for concern.
Ignore me then.
I started following the sounds of the humming. It was coming
Where did
from
Andrew
behind
go?
this intentionally planted line of thick trees with vines and brushes sprouting from the sides of them. Instead of walking around the long
Oh.
wall,
What the hell's happened here? Hold on.
Find your adoption papers.
Accept. Yo,
Can you?
what's happened?
Can you? Can you?
Why? How can I disconnect? I'm the party reader. That's a bit idiotic.
Your mom.
Right, let's move on.
trees.
Oh, wrong
These
page of
vines
view.
and bushes to the other side.
Can you hear
I
this
myself in the
anyway?
process. As I
Ryan.
struggled to make it to the other side, the humming suddenly stopped as quickly as it
Elliot, can
started.
you hear this?
Ryan.
He's over
I was
here.
left alone to the silence once again.
Oh.
Not
Elliot,
even the
can you hear
sound
him?
of a cricket.
No, can you hear
I
the?
walked closer to the edge of the
the
memorial
story?
property, by the woods.
Yeah, I can
Near a
hear.
few
Okay,
of the
we're
big
good.
mausoleum-looking structures. I could distinctly hear some kind of buzzing sound coming from one of them.
Buzz.
I stepped up the 3 white steps into the structure. The little door didn't have any kind of locks on it. I'd never been in any of these structures until this point, and I was incorrect in my assumption that they were
Hello, mate.
mausoleums. I still don't know what the purpose of them were. Maybe some kind of memorial building for deceased veterans in the cemetery. As I was inside that cold, dark structure, I could actually feel the hairs on my arms begin to stand up as I got goosebumps for reasons I wasn't sure of just yet. That buzzing sound was coming from inside of the structure, but it almost seemed like it was coming from beneath my feet. I looked down to the wood floor, and there were tiny round holes in each plank of wood, it seemed.
Okay.
Big enough to look through, but way too dark down there to see what lay below the floorboards. I had an idea. I positioned my phone on the floorboard just right so that the flashlight would shoot light into the hole in the wood, and I would look through one of the other holes. I lay basically flat on the floor with my head pressed up to the wood, one eye closed.
Uh-oh.
I expected to see nothing at all, but I saw what appeared to be the top of a woman's head. And as if she knew I started looking immediately, she looked up at me through the hole.
No.
I only saw her face for maybe half a second before I
Oi,
fell backwards.
you're
and let
supposed to be
out a
watching this,
blood-curdling
lad.
scream.
No.
I sprinted back to the parking lot. I called the guy who was supposed to relieve me soon, and I told him to meet me now. When he showed up, I tried to convince him that I was telling the truth about what I'd seen in that little building. He entertained me by coming with me to it, and I repeated what I did earlier with my phone flashlight. He looked through multiple holes but saw nothing. I had to check for myself, and he was right. It was just some small, empty-looking space underneath the structure. I spent the rest of the shift with him. I left at 4 on the dot. I know he didn't believe me. I wouldn't have believed me either. I'm sure it's a possibility that it was a hallucination as a result of my lack of sleep. But I also believe it's a possibility that I witnessed a spirit or something completely supernatural. I'd heard so many older Marines and veterans tell of supernatural experiences they had while serving. I don't know who the woman that I saw could have been if it truly wasn't my imagination, but it chills me to the bone to imagine it having been one of the women buried in the cemetery.
Whoa.
Oh, that's a bit. Okay.
Freaky.
So yeah, that's the end of that video. So there's
Yeah.
So there's only been one more. There's been one more video since the last video that we did.
Which I was obviously
I'm
in.
watching the stream.
Why are you watching the stream? You're in it. This is why I have a problem.
I'm looking when you're
there's
poking your eyes out.
I'm not poking my eyes out.
Wait, what? You're a psychic?
You're.
Hmm.
Come on.
What are you doing?
Okay, Andrew, shut up!
Yeah, Andrew.
Oh, calm down.
Why do you keep talking over me? This is like in every Epic War video we've ever done.
Mate, I'm
No,
gonna punch him
I'd
tomorrow.
never talk over you.
Yes, you do.
So, Andrew, you're gonna get a punch tomorrow or whenever I'm next in.
Never.
You're gonna get your head smashed in that one too.
So,
Oh yeah.
You're gonna get free.
that's a bit cocky, innit? So the next one we're gonna watch is 3 disturbing true scary stories. This is like
I think they can read.
they're not working
We'll
on.
turn it on and let them read it.
No. So this has been the second most recent video since the last video. So and then after this we'll get into
Oh,
For
Bro.
Oh my god.
I don't like being deaf, bro.
No, you are deaf.
Come on, stop screaming.
Okay, so this 3 disturbing scary horror stories thing. How long did it take to get a drink, Elliot?
10 years.
I live in a small, peaceful
17
town.
minutes.
I don't live in a place where you have to worry about walking alone at night.
I know that.
I
That's
share
a
a
big
one-story
street.
house with my sister, but she's hardly ever home. She has another place in Florida that she spends most of her time. There's about 100 to 200 feet between each house on my block, and then there's some woods across the street. I have a daily routine. I get home from work, make dinner, shower, relax a little, then go for a run, come back and have a light snack, then go to bed. It was a work night like any other. I was going for my nightly run, and when I came back to my house, there was a random white van parked across the street. I took notice of it because hardly ever would random cars park on any of these streets.
White
The
van.
little neighborhood has very little through traffic. I looked at it as I walked backwards to my front door, and I could tell there was someone sitting inside of it, though I couldn't see anything regarding what they were doing. I don't know if the glass was tinted or if it was just because it was dark out. Later that night, I was hearing some weird sounds coming from outside. It was like a scraping sound.
Shut
I
up.
looked out my window, called out hello, and it stopped. I had no idea what it could be.
Bloody hell, I
My
wanted to
first
take you
guess
to
was
get a
the neighbor
drink.
doing something in his yard. I went back to
20 million
whatever I was
hours.
doing, and that was the night. The following day was a Friday, the last day of my work week. After work, I did proceed with my regular schedule. I went on my nightly run a little earlier tonight since it was Friday and I had plans with some friends. I got back from my run, imagining the van to be there again, but it wasn't this time. I went out with my friends to a comedy club. I didn't get back until
Watch one of my videos and then you can
led
call
myself
comedy.
into the house and locked the door. It was a long night and I was feeling tired, so I hurried
Shut
up
up,
with the
Lion.
get ready
You don't
for
know what
bed
comedy is
process.
either.
I do.
No, you don't.
After turning off the bedside light in my room and laying down, that's when things were finally silent enough for me to pick up on some weird thumping and rustling sounds. I felt like they were coming from inside of the walls. It's only a 2-bedroom house, it's not big. I put my ear up to one of the walls, and indeed heard something going on in there. I knocked on the wall and
Is
the
it
noises
now?
stopped. This was a cause for concern, as I assumed it was a rodent or a wild raccoon. I went out to the living room, and passing by the windows, I looked outside and saw that white van parked outside again. I opened my front door and stepped out to the front stoop to look at the van. I didn't see anyone sitting in it this time.
Uh-oh.
2 nights in a row of this now. Something was going on. I walked
White
barefoot to
van.
the side of my house to look for
Is he
possible
just
holes in
retarded?
the walls for animals to crawl through.
Yes, probably.
And I came to
It's
the
obviously him in the
outside
house,
fixed
isn't it?
door. It was cracked open, and the lock was snapped off.
Oh, for God's
I hadn't paid
sake.
attention to this door in weeks. I pulled it open a little more, and without a phone or flashlight in my hands, all I could do was lean inside and squint my eyes in the pitch blackness of the crawl space.
That helps.
I heard the faintest
Hello?
sound of pebbles
Yeah.
scraping against the concrete floor. At first, my naive mind was thinking it was an animal, till the sounds turned more aggressive and more closely resembled human footsteps marching to the crawl space door. And then, just barely,
Wow.
I could see a person crouch walking towards me. I slammed the door and twisted the knob, but without a lock, it wouldn't do
Twisty
anything.
knob.
I ran back inside my house and called the police. While on the phone, I instantly attributed the crawl space door to the scraping sounds I heard the night
Hello,
before.
and welcome.
The next time I went to the window while on the phone,
Shush.
the van in the
To
street was
Calvin's
gone.
Corner.
Will you be quiet? Being very rude. Being very, very rude.
You don't even know how not to be rude.
Shut up. I'm very...
Don't be rude.
Okay, just sit down and enjoy the stories. That's what I'm doing. That's why I put no effort into these videos whatsoever. So, let's move on.
You don't know how to put effort into it.
Well, I do. I put effort into Epic World videos. That's the only thing I actually put effort in for.
Bull.
What do you mean, bull?
That's bull.
You're-
Sup, bro?
Yeah, but you never actually watch Epic World videos anyway, so you
Right,
don't know
come on.
what crap I have to put up with. Not one point of view.
Police came and I showed them the crawl space. We had to use flashlights as the crawl space doesn't have any lights installed. We found something disturbing. In the left corner, there were cut marks in the roof of the crawl space, as if the intruder was trying to saw his way into the house. The only info I could give them was the white van parked in front of the house. We don't have cameras, nor did I see what he or she even looked like. They never came back though. I'd imagine because I caught on to what was probably supposed to be a silent operation.
How would you call that silent, bro?
They weren't exactly being silent.
What retard?
My family has a summer home in Arapahoe National Forest of Colorado. It's a 7-hour
Do you actually
drive
remember
from-
that we're recording?
I don't often go with my parents or siblings, if ever. I go alone for the purpose of hunting and detoxing. I've probably been up there a total of 40 times in my life. The last time I went was a few months ago, but I don't really like going alone anymore. Here's why.
Pussy.
It was 2017.
Puss. Did you just
Pulled
say
my truck up
puss?
the old dirt road onto the
Yes, you did. Do you forget that we're streaming this? We can't edit this.
Well, what did he say?
I don't know. What did you say?
Bitch.
Oi!
You say that.
Fired!
Lion!
How many times have you said that on stream?
None.
That's bull.
I think we're gonna have to. I don't know what we should do with him.
Right, tell
Come
Cal
on.
tomorrow.
grass of
See
the
you later.
property. There's
Oi!
no real driveway. We just park wherever.
Stop being
the grass is.
rude! Stop being
The house is
inappropriate!
You are the
modest,
definition
but
of
nice
rude.
for a vacation.
Says the guy who likes punching people.
Yeah, I know.
Parked up next to the front
Right,
deck.
everyone, shut up and enjoy the
This was
story.
in the dead of summer, but the breeze
Okay.
there was still nice and cool. I let myself into the house using the keypad lock. We don't use physical keys in fear of losing or forgetting them. I was the first one there in quite some time, so I had to turn on the electricity and water heater. In the meantime, I unpacked and ate the lunch I brought with me. I also threw away any mouse and bug traps that were left out that caught mice and bugs. It's actually quite a problem in the house. After all of this was done, I started setting up my hunting gear, which my dad and I leave in a big back closet. By this point, the sun was on its way down. It was around 6 o'clock. The laughter from outside caught my attention. I marched from the kitchen to the living room to look out the big window that looked into the woods. I looked into the woods and I didn't see anyone, so I cranked the heavy window open and listened. The laughter belonged to multiple children, like a small group. This was our property, though. That meant these kids were trespassing, probably up to no good. I went outside through the back door to the woods, trying to follow the laughter. I kept going deeper into the woods, and the laughter stayed the same distance away from me, though. Eventually, I gave up, because it seemed like the kids were running away anyway. The next day, while posted up in the tower that my dad built for deer hunting in the woods, I heard the sound of those kids laughing again. Noting that meant they were once again on our property, I decided to call my dad and ask what to do.
Shoot them.
He told me to chase them off the property if I saw them, so I shot around into the air. I forfeited any game for the sole purpose of chasing the kids away, but it worked, of course. The sound of the laughing stopped right away. I knew now it would be pointless staying posted up in the tower, so I called it for the day and went back to the house. I wasn't feeling too well anyway.
Bye.
No.
That night I slept with all the windows open to get some air circulating.
Why do you open the window? They could just wolf. Oh my god, you're so thick.
The sounds of the children.
I like it.
Yeah, but I don't open a window if there's an intruder
But he didn't know that.
or a trespasser.
Who knew that kids would do such a retarded thing?
Would you stop saying that? The R word, lad.
I mean, only if you have a death wish would you do that. And
Do you have a death
cabin
wish?
when they have
Do
a
you have a
gun.
death wish?
No. Well, last time I checked, I didn't.
You don't do now.
To be past like 11 at this point.
Yeah, no thanks.
I climbed up the bed to look out the window. Of course, it was too dark out there. I had enough now, though. I grabbed my Winchester from the closet and a flashlight as well. I didn't have intentions of shooting kids, just scaring them off with a round or two.
Bro, I would have shot
Went out the
them.
back door.
Yeah, I know you would.
Where the laughter was coming from. The laughter was louder than any other time before now. Like, it seemed like they were 20 meters away at most. I yelled in a strong, commanding voice to get off my land.
Oh, let me just see if there's like any
Get
image.
off my property.
No, let me see if there's any scary imagery, just in case. Because why not?
Why not?
Because why not? Like, you have to stay safe.
Why not then?
Tell
I scanned the woods with my flashlight.
Shut up, you
It
lad.
wasn't a very powerful one, though. Then every muscle in my body basically went limp. The volume of the laughter went from 30 to 100 in a matter of half a second. Then something landed on the ground next to me. It was an old-looking speaker. The sounds of kids laughing were blasting through it. I picked it up and threw it back in the woods. Then aimed the light back in the woods. At one point, I'm still not sure of it though. I thought I saw a person standing at the edge of my light.
I don't think that is the
I aimed my
kids. I
Winchester
don't think that
to
is
the air
kids,
and
lad.
fired. Then yelled a threat, like come any closer, the next round goes through your skull.
Oh,
Then ran back inside the back door and locked it.
Damn, son.
Closed every curtain. I considered calling the sheriff's department, but all the way up here, any police call would take at least half an hour to an hour. I was better off fleeing altogether. As I packed my bag, I heard a smudge on the living room window. I waited a few minutes in an idle position before slightly moving the curtains, revealing something written in blood on the glass. I didn't take the time to read it. I finished packing my bag, took my gun, took a deep breath, and went outside. I locked the door with the code as quickly as possible, then ran for the car as if my life depended on it. I turned the car on and put it in drive before it had time to finish with those startup beeps. I spoke with my dad on the way home. He told me I was right to leave. Anything in the house wasn't worth my life. I stayed at a nearby motel that night. My dad came the next day. I met him at the house. Whatever was written on that window in blood was wiped completely off. The house wasn't broken into, and we couldn't find the speaker type thing that was thrown at me. We stayed a couple nights, then went home. I don't know who was out there or why they were targeting me. I really hope that blood was animal blood, though.
why are you hoping it was animal blood? Not for veganism, it's not.
It's better than human blood, don't you think?
Yeah, but you're still not. According to vegans, you're not supposed to kill animals.
Well, they can go for themselves.
I could have vegan audience.
I was
Shut
home alone
up!
one weekend, house to myself.
True.
I had a couple friends over the first night, and I stayed up pretty late both nights.
It's my belief that you
I was 14 at the time.
It's my belief
Just
that you
started
could
high
stop
school.
stop offending my
Just started
vegan
trusting me enough
audience.
to leave the house to
I'll
myself.
do them if I have to.
This was on a Saturday.
Oh
night.
yeah, I'll punch you.
I was out with a couple.
Oh,
When we all
Oh,
decided to
you're
call
about
it a
to
night,
find
I
out.
walked home by
oh.
myself.
Right, let's go. I'm gonna scrap. I'll scrap on stream, you know that, don't you?
Yeah, but you know you'll get knocked out. So.
I will, because I'm the. You can't really knock me out anyway, because. Well, this will be a Ryan, Elliot, and Andrew
Because
stream.
you're best friends.
No, I can.
Because
see
it'll be an Andrew, Elliot, and Ryan stream then.
Yeah.
and
that
I
would
would
be-
not-
That would be 10 times better.
No, it won't!
Yeah, you're right. It'd be a million times better.
No, it won't. It'll be worse.
It'd be so good that you'd like have 50 million subscribers
Tim.
in like a millisecond.
Just like what it is, I found.
Faster than that.
You can.
Halfway through my walk home, I noticed the car seemed to be following me. So I started to jog home. The car started flashing its lights. At this hour of the night, I could only assume potential danger.
Danger,
So I turned my
stranger,
jogging
danger.
clothes and let it run. I ran all the way to my house and checked outside the windows. Moments later, the car from outside parked in front of the house and someone came out from the car. They started running up to my front door. I started panicking. The doorbell started to ring, and they started pounding on the door aggressively. I suddenly felt like my life was being threatened. I ran to my room, which is on the lower level of the house by the backyard. I tried to get my parents on the phone, but they wouldn't answer. They were definitely asleep. For a 14-year-old boy, I was scared to death. Now the intense knocking moved to my window instead of the front door. I screamed at them to go away, and they yelled something back, but it was muffled. I left my room to hide in my parents' room and call the police. mid-phone call explaining that I was followed home and someone was trying to break into my house. The banging started at my parents' bedroom window now, as if they somehow knew which room I was going to every time. I screamed, "Go away." The 911 dispatcher told me not to do that and to keep quiet and stay hidden. But the person banging
I'd
on
go
the
in
glass
business,
started
otherwise
yelling
I'd
through
get
the
killed.
closed window.
Yeah.
And now I could hear more clearly what he was saying. He yelled there was a person in my house. Then he yelled
it's
someone
pretty
followed
obvious,
me
you
home
gotta
and
do
might
that
be
after getting
inside my
killed.
house. Ignoring the 911 dispatcher, I went to the window and asked in a loud voice so he could hear me,
Wow.
"What are you talking about?" He yelled at me to call the police and stay locked inside of a room because someone followed me home and went to our backyard. I told the dispatcher exactly what the man yelled to me. She said don't trust him just yet and to stay in a locked room until the police would arrive at my front door. I didn't know whether the things the man was saying were true or not. Not until hearing footsteps outside my parents' bedroom near the living room. The footsteps clonked down the wooden floor of the bedroom hallway. I heard each door in the hall being opened until they got to my parents' bedroom door. The doorknob twisted, but since it was locked, obviously the door couldn't be pushed open.
Doorknob.
Doorknob.
As the person on the other side of the door started trying to most likely kick the door down, as all I heard were loud bangs. Eventually the bangs stopped. I imagine they gave up. I didn't hear footsteps walking away, but probably because I was in the closet. I was still on the line with the dispatcher. She told me police were outside, to which I suggested the police try entering through the back, as that was apparently the point of entry most likely. They were able to enter through the front door though, as apparently the intruder left through the front. The back door was left ajar after the intruder smashed the glass panel on the door, allowing him to reach in and unlock it. I met the police in the living room. The man who was outside banging on the windows was also there. He told this whole story that as I was walking home, he saw some older man crouching in bush after bush, following me in a manner that conveyed he meant harm. He followed me all the way to my house, as a matter of fact. That's why the guy in the car was following me, as well as flashing his lights. I called my mom, who picked up on the third try. I didn't want to call my dad because I was scared of how angry he'd be. I spoke with my mom on speakerphone, with the police listening and contributing reassuring words to my mom. The police dropped me off at a friend's house that night to sleep there. My parents started driving home that night and got home early the next morning. A police officer parked outside our house for a few hours before driving home. Nothing was stolen at all to my knowledge. If the intruder didn't break in to rob us, that means he really was just after me. And he came after me in my own house.
An old man for a little boy.
Oh my god. See, that's the end of that story. So now it's time to watch stories that we have not watched on the channel before, but there are old stories.
Like him.
Oh, for God's sake, Elliot!
Elliot, you disgusting,
We can't. Can we be professional?
disgusting excuse about human.
Why can we
Waste
not
of
have a
space.
stream or video or whatever when we can actually be proper professionals?
Because we're not.
Well, we could be more.
It's actually funny that you suggest that.
Well, we need to try and be a bit more professional.
No.
Well, obviously you three not because you.
I only burped.
Yeah, but YouTubers don't burp in their videos.
How do you know?
If I can't hold it in there, then it'll go out the other side.
Go out the room.
Are you ready?
Oh,
Are you
do,
ready? Are you ready?
No, Andrew,
Ready?
don't.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
that one.
so we're doing the 5 very disturbing things that happened to people while they were.
Five, not 6.
Well, on the toilet.
I'm
I'm on the toilet. Just
enjoying it.
Oi, this is the bathroom. Leave me alone.
Ew.
An 18-year-old boy named Liam was home alone for a whole week when his dad and stepmom went on their honeymoon. While playing video games in his brother's old bedroom, who had since moved out, he could hear a kind of scraping noise that seemed to be coming from outside.
Oh. Let me see that any scary imagery.
No, Carl, who cares?
I don't care because I watch these on stream, so I need to make sure my audience don't kill themselves.
There's never been a single one before, so why would it all of a sudden...
Yes, they have. Yes, they have.
Like what?
I can't remember because I've done like 5 videos in the series by now. So yeah, a little bit, but
No, not a single scary one.
yes, they have. There've been like
come
scary images. Yes. Ryan, help me.
The strange thing, this room was on the second floor, so it seemed nothing but odd to hear something outside scraping against the walls.
Andrew,
He
shut
tried
up!
to ignore it by turning the video game up louder, but the scraping sounds only
It's
became
so bad. It's no, it's good.
It's not, because it keeps going like this.
more apparent. He decided to finally look out the window, but it was too dark to really see anything. He left the window open a crack to better hear the noise if it persisted.
He's insane.
Liam spun around to discover the window was now open and someone was crawling into the room through it. He was able to push the intruder back out the window before he could fully make it into the room, who then fell 2 stories down into the bushes below. He apparently wasn't too injured, as he was gone within minutes.
Oh.
During a rainy night in Central Islip on Long Island, a teenager named Ian was home alone, so he invited his friend Carl over. His friend texted that he would be over in 2 minutes. Ian prepared the video games he planned on playing with Carl and heard the gate to the backyard close. Confused as to why Carl went out back, Ian went out to the backyard. His shed door was open with the light on.
What the hell
As
is
he
that?
pulled out Carl's name walking to the shed, the light inside the shed turned off. Simultaneously, Ian received a text from Carl saying, "I'm here." Ian responded, "Are you in the shed?" Responded back, "I'm at the front door."
Callum,
What?
is it your mom?
What?
I said, is it your mom?
No.
As Ian looked up, the door to the shed pulled shut with force. Ian ran back into his house and let Carl in. When the police responded to Ian's call, they checked the shed, found the door was
Hold on,
back-
I have to go do something for my sister for a sec.
Okay, bye, Callum.
Shut up. I'll be back in a sec. You free chat and
Bye, Callum.
Andrew, make sure Ryan does not say anything rude. Be back in just
Okay.
How long are you gonna be?
like a couple seconds.
That's 18 months.
Oh, my throat.
Oh, you free just have to talk, innit?
Sure. Did you know Callum found out he was adopted?
No.
Well, he found out yesterday.
Oh.
Oh. Oh. Oh. Oh. Oh. Oh. Oh my. Oh my.
Good conversation, guys.
Yeah. Conversation.
Yeah, I know, boy.
Conversation. That's the best conversation I've ever had.
No. Andrew is someone.
Well, obviously, it's not going to be no one. Idiot Elliot.
I'm back.
Ha, ha. Hi, Tom.
What did they say?
Nothing.
Nothing.
You know I could watch the stream back afterwards. You know that, don't you?
So?
What? I'll kick your ass then.
Yeah, Andrew Rogers.
Alright, let's get back to the video.
Alright, hurry up.
open and that nobody was inside.
Hello, guys. I might start YouTube. Yeah. Hello, and welcome to
Shut
I
up!
might start YouTube.
Do you mind?
Just shut up, Elliot, before I find out where you live.
Elliot!
Chris was supposed to be working late for the night, so his family went out to eat dinner without him. However, he was unexpectedly
You could
able
talk
to
when
come home
something
early.
scary happened in the
As a
store.
result, he had the house to himself for a few hours.
Yes.
He went down to his man cave in the basement to watch TV. That was when he heard the backyard basement window flap open, and someone stuck their head inside, peering around the room. He hid behind the couch until the person shut the window. Chris ran upstairs with a baseball bat and shut off all the lights. He waited in the kitchen, which was by the back door. Somebody suddenly reached their arm through the pet door in an attempt to unlock the door. Chris swung the baseball bat as hard as he could at the person's arm, causing them to scream and flee. That same night, sirens roared down the street and stopped at a neighborhood house. It turned out one of Chris's neighbors 3 doors down had been murdered, and when his wife came home, she found the house was ransacked with missing valuables everywhere. And then she found her husband, dead on the kitchen floor with a stab wound in the back of his head.
Hey!
He's dead.
Order on my
A young
brother.
girl named Anne was home alone one snowy Friday night. Her parents were out to
Wait,
dinner,
pause that real
and her
quick.
sister was out with friends.
Imagine if that's actually true. Imagine if you didn't, if the guy didn't open the basement window and open the upstairs door first.
Yeah.
He would be.
Oh god, I forgot that was on my point of view.
Idiot, you are. Idiot!
Oh Jesus.
Swore on your stream again.
Says the guy who literally just went. I didn't specifically
You
say.
always swear though.
I don't. I really
oh my
don't.
God, look at the third one.
Oh my god, we're watching that next. We're watching that.
Which one is it?
You're
No, you can wait. You can wait.
it's like Thanksgiving or something like that. I don't know.
She
Black
was
Friday
taking a
and
nap on her
Thanksgiving
bed.
horror stories.
No.
Oh shit.
She awoke to the thump.
Hide.
She was sure it came from her closet door, so she got up and bravely opened it.
Yo, bro,
There
she's
didn't
brave.
seem to be anyone inside, so she closed the closet and spun around. There she saw the head under the bed, the head of a man looking at her.
Oh, I
with
couldn't
a
see him.
stare. She fell to the floor screaming. That's when the closet doors behind her opened and someone grabbed her and pulled her in.
What?
The
Oh
man from
my
under the
God.
bed emerged and approached her as she was being held down. The two of them carried her downstairs where they put tape over her mouth and tied her arms together.
Yeah.
One checked to make sure the coast was clear before carrying her
She
outside,
did.
where they planned to put her in their car's
Oh
trunk.
yeah, I don't think so.
However, about halfway to their car, a large group of teenagers came riding down on their bikes and witnessed it all. Some of them were screaming for help, while some of them got off their bikes and started to slowly approach the two men. They knew they wouldn't get away with it now, so they dropped in, jumped into their car, and sped away. She was completely awake and conscious throughout all of this. It's unknown why they didn't just tie her up while she was
Wake
sleeping.
up, dudes.
The most realistic possibility is that they simply wanted to scare the girl. This may seem like a crazy, rare occurrence, and you may even call it fake. However, things like this happen all the time, and are shown commonly on the news. Perhaps they're just the stories we forget about.
Bloody hell. Who knew teenagers could be so...
22-year-old Garber
can
still
actually
lived
be
with his
helpful.
parents. He was the youngest of 3, so his 2 siblings had already moved out, and his parents were out 3 to 4 nights a week.
Why?
This one particular stormy night, he was home alone in his room when he could swear he heard something hit his window. It wasn't insanely weird, as the weather was pretty bad and something may have just blown into his window. However, a second thud at the window sent his heart racing. He lifted his blind and could see somebody standing out there. Even through the damp windows and the pouring rain, he knew he did not recognize that person. He shut the blinds to send the message to go away. However, he wasn't even able to move away from the windowsill before something else was thrown at the window. Garber opened the blind, and this time even the window, and shouted, "What do you want?" The man down below called back, "Come outside, I want to show you something." Garber went downstairs to call the police.
Yeah, alright.
They asked him if he was sure that he didn't know the person and if they had caused any damage. The 911 operator asked Garber to call back if the person continued to harass him or showed signs of wanting to break in. Garber hung up the phone. He wanted to see a better view from down in the kitchen, so he opened the kitchen blinds.
Bloody hell!
Garber called the police right back and informed them that the man was standing at his kitchen window and to send somebody right away. The next time he looked back at the kitchen window, the man was gone.
Bye!
That was the last time Garber ever saw that man.
Is that it?
Oh.
I hope you found this video interesting, scary, or just entertaining. If you'd like to hear more Home Alone stuff, I do have a video about 10 true Home Alone stories.
So here comes the 4th freaky true
15 minutes.
bit. It's pretty much like amount of time anyway.
Number 4. Me and the girlfriend were on our way to her parents' house. I was invited to Thanksgiving dinner with them, which was a huge honor for me since I'd only met her parents 3 times. I was also nervous since her grandparents and aunts and uncles would also be there who I had never met. We had a long trek from my house to her parents' house. It would be a good hour-long drive. About 45 minutes into the drive, we had to stop for gas. We pulled up into a literally dead Gulf station right off the highway, and I decided to fill up with premium for once to do my car a favor. Of course, it was cheaper to pay with cash, so I went inside with my head down as I dug my hand inside my wallet searching for a 10 and a 20, and when I pulled the bills out, I instinctively looked up and said, 30 on 2 please. But I stopped mid-sentence. There was no one there. I looked for a bell on the counter. None. I simply called out, anyone there?
Hello?
There wasn't even a back door behind the counter that you would assume would lead to some kind of employees-only room. No, it was just completely empty. The only other door in this little gas station besides the entrance was the single bathroom, and that door was open, exposing the blackness from within the bathroom. I figured maybe whoever was manning the cash register may have just gone outside for something. I walked back outside and shrugged my shoulders at my girlfriend out of confusion. I looked around for maybe a porta potty or an ice machine or something that could be distracting a potential cashier. But there was nothing. It was a relatively small little station with foliage surrounding it in almost all directions. I figured maybe somebody could be behind the building smoking a bogey or a doobie, so I went back there as a final attempt. Nope, just a dumpster sitting under a dimly lit roof light. Look, I figured I'd just pay credit at this point and turn it back. But as I did, somebody from out in the woods called over to me in a kind of whispery yell. My heart skipped a beat when I heard this.
No, it's not. It's
Hey.
perfect condition.
Hey! I kept hearing it from the woods. I took out my phone and flipped on the flashlight just to skim the outer tree line for anybody who could be hiding in there. As my now shaking hand rotated the phone slowly, the light momentarily revealed somebody from behind a tree. I took off back to the car and stepped on it out of there. My girlfriend was scared shitless just in reaction to my fear. I told her about the bizarre thing that just happened, and from that point on, she kept looking through the rearview mirrors just to make sure we weren't being followed. We pulled up to the next gas station we could find, this time one that actually had a cashier. I paid him $30 and began filling up. A van pulled up to the pump right behind mine, and a man wearing a cap stepped out staring intently at me. I tried to act as if I didn't notice him, but when it got to the point where he was staring at me for at least 20 seconds straight, I had to look at him and ask him if there was a problem. He finally turned away. The second I was done, I hopped back in the car and took off once more. We made it to her parents' house safely, and I don't believe we were followed. Now, I wouldn't have shared this story if it weren't for the fact that a few weeks later, I did some research and found out that a 33-year-old Indian man who worked at the gas station we had stopped at had been murdered and his body was stuffed in the woods behind the station. I immediately gave the police a tip about the guy who I saw at the station who was surely caught on camera. The following year on Thanksgiving, a similar murder happened at another gas station. We have since nicknamed him the Thanksgiving Killer. I fear only the worst once more this year, as he has still not been caught.
No. I hate when this
Number
happens.
3.
Not being caught.
Walmart attracts the weirdest people.
Like
It
your
was
mom.
Black Friday. Me and my brothers were going video game shopping.
Hey, wait,
Our
what?
first and only stop was Walmart. The place was absolutely mobbed, and being
No.
Walmart, it was mobbed with the wrong kinds of people.
It's empty anyway.
Gross, weird, and just creepy people
Ah,
everywhere
no.
trying to save
Why
a
I
few bucks on already
can't
cheap
do that to my
products.
brother and Christian's head.
Let's get beat up.
I get beat up on
No, I
camera.
do this with my, I do this against his head.
I'm being beat up on
I do
camera.
this. Crunchy leg, bro.
I've been beat up on camera.
No, you're about to get your head crushed.
My head was about to get crushed.
No, not your hair, your head.
I know, I said head.
Your skull.
Right, guys.
Alright, now come on.
Let's finish this episode.
We rode the escalators upstairs to the video game section.
But
I was
this would
looking
be-
for the
this would
latest
be
Call
the
of
last-
Duty game personally, but my brothers were looking for some other
Like
game
10
I don't
minutes.
remember.
So we've got like.
Then, out
We
of
get
nowhere,
I got exactly
some
10 minutes left
creepy,
too.
heavy, oldish man who smelled like vomit
So after,
walked
this
up
will
to
be the
me
last
and
story of
said,
this stream.
"You like video games, huh?"
Okay.
Yeah, I said.
Nintendo
I
DS.
began to slowly slide away just to show that I wasn't interested in conversation. My son likes video games too. Maybe you should come over and play some with him. He really craves company. The man gave me a creepy smile. Oh, no, I'm not from around town, sorry. That's all I could think of saying. I didn't even give him a chance to keep this conversation going. Hell, I wasn't obligated to stand there and talk to this guy. I simply
What?
gave him a smile and called my brother's name
Well, you said 10 minutes or something.
Yes.
while walking away just to seem distracted.
To the end of the stream, unfortunately, I have to go home then.
He was just staring at me as I walked away.
Oh.
I made it to the next aisle over
What
and
do you mean, oh?
immediately felt comfort in being next to my
You
brothers.
could do it a bit longer, maybe.
I waited
Bit
around
longer?
until they finally found their game and we headed over to the checkout counters.
Well, we'll determine this
The lines
after
were
this
insane.
video.
I knew it would probably take 10 to 15 minutes just to make it to the counters, so I took that opportunity to check out some of the jeans and t-shirt sales. At one point, I found myself in probably the most secluded corner of the store checking out some t-shirts when someone grabbed my arm hard. I thought it was my brother messing with me, so I turned around and told him to fuck off. It wasn't him. It was the man. I started calling for help, screaming that I didn't know this man. Some people came over and stared, but that was about it. The man let go and walked away. I don't know what he was thinking or planning on trying in such a public place. I didn't tell my brothers what happened out of embarrassment, but they picked up on the fact that I was quiet afterwards. It's nothing, I kept telling them. We got into my brother's Camaro, and when I sat down, I looked to the entrance of the Walmart. There he fucking was, sitting at the bench, facing me. As we were leaving the lot, we had to pass right in front of the store. I got one last look at the creepy man. His head moved ever so slightly to constantly face me, even through the car window at night. I gave him the finger, but it didn't seem to influence him in the slightest. That was the last I ever saw of him. Walmart attracts the weirdest people.
I think I know why he was trying to do it.
Number 2.
To make him play
It was
video
Black Friday,
games.
2013, and I decided to be one of those people who gets up at 3 a.m. to get some early deals. Home Depot was having crazy deals on artificial Christmas trees, so I wanted to get there early and buy one for my family.
That's why this was Thanksgiving
They
story,
opened
not
their doors
Christmas
at 3
stories.
a.m. on the spot, 3 hours earlier than usual for Black Friday. Surprisingly, only me and one other guy were waiting to get in. I guess everyone else was at Best Buy or at the mall. I found a nice 9-foot-tall artificial Christmas tree, originally for $200, but at that moment half off for only $100.
Ooh.
I asked one of the few employees working at that hour to help me carry the box to the checkout and then to my car. The parking lot was still surprisingly empty for Black Friday. I figured maybe I didn't have to come so early. I tipped the guy and got in my car ready to leave when someone knocked on my window. I lowered the window, and some guy, mid-20s, beanie, black, and tall, leaned into my window asking if I had change. I opened the little compartment in between seats where I normally keep change, and it was actually empty. I didn't want to have to hand him a 10, so I said, "Nah, man, sorry." He looked disappointed, and I actually felt bad. He then asked me if I could give him a lift to the nearest gas station. I was a bit nervous about letting a stranger in my car, but guess what? I let him in.
Oh, for God's
He did
sake.
not thank me, which kind of hurt. I guess because I'm a little sensitive. I asked him if he knew of any close-by gas stations. He just said, nah.
Nah.
A few seconds later, I asked him why he needed to
Nah.
go to the gas station. And I swear to God, he didn't answer. It's Not like he didn't hear me. He just flat out ignored me. I stopped looking at him at that point because I was feeling a bit uncomfortable now. I kept driving down main and side roads, but there was no goddamn gas stations anywhere. I was trying not to look in his direction, but I could tell he was staring at me. Every turn I made, every stop sign I stopped at, he was staring at me. I was sweating now. This guy was freaking me out. I felt like at any moment he could just grab my throat and I'd be done for. At last, I could see a gas station just beyond a light which had just turned red. Why did it have to turn red just now? I thought to myself. I could still feel his stare, even as I looked the other way. I finally decided to sum up the balls and looked at him. I felt his cold, emotionless stare run straight through my eyes into my soul. Are you okay?
You're
I
right.
asked him.
You're right, lad.
He ever so slightly nodded his head,
Yeah.
almost not even noticeable.
Oh, yeah.
The light turned green, and I pulled into the gas station. He stepped out and stood by the sidewalk and watched me as I pulled away. When I got past the intersection, I laughed out of joy and the ridiculousness of the situation. But then I realized something. I patted myself down and then began to panic. I was missing something. My phone. I was only a few blocks away, so I made a U-turn and headed back to the gas station. He was gone already. I drove home and confirmed that my phone was missing. I knew I had left it in the cup holder of my car. My phone had all of my info on it. I contemplated calling the police, but I didn't. I couldn't even sleep that night in fear of some freak stranger having my address.
What?
The next night, after getting home from our 2-day delayed Thanksgiving dinner, I found my front door was open and my entire house was trashed.
No.
I called the police with my neighbor's phone. They didn't find him in there, but they found his prints everywhere. The only thing, the prints did not match anyone on record. Number 1. It was Thanksgiving. I had half the family over, along with the next door neighbors, Tom and his wife. They don't have a big family, so they used to come over to watch the game with us on Thanksgiving. After eating dinner, we all sat in the living room to watch football, except for my daughters Tracy and Michelle, who aren't into football. At the time, Michelle was only 13 years old, and Tracy was 16. During halftime, I decided to go up to Michelle's room to get her to come down. She finally budged and came down to the living room. Me, Tom, and a few in-laws went outside to smoke. Me and Tom talked about his son, Sam. Apparently, Sam had gone back home to be alone and watch movies. He had been with us earlier. Tom joked that he was probably just watching porn, though. I laughed. I stared up at one of the windows to my house, the window to Michelle's room. There was someone looking out the window.
What was he watching there?
What the hell is Michelle doing back in her room? I thought. But then I realized that wasn't Michelle. In fact,
I don't know. I'll discuss that after
the
the
hell
stream.
that was. I excused myself from the group and stormed back inside and upstairs to Michelle's room. Michelle followed after she saw me enter her room. Did someone just come in here? I asked. No, why? I looked around the room. It was completely empty. I nudged Michelle to go back downstairs while I turned off the lamp. We went back to the living room where the game would be starting up momentarily. I finally decided to ask everyone if anyone had been in Michelle's room at her window. Everyone either said no or shook their heads no.
No.
Someone had to be lying. I heard a slight thud come from upstairs in Michelle's room.
Shit.
I ran back upstairs, again with Michelle following me. I flicked on the lights in her room and spun around in a circle looking for someone. The sliding closet door was cracked open. I just realized. I thought I could see something through the crack. I squinted my eyes to try and see what it was. It was an eye. I screamed like a child for maybe 2 seconds, followed by Michelle. Relatives ran up into the room as I angrily slid open the closet and pulled out Sam, Tom's son. Tom ran up and found me basically holding Sam by the neck. Sam was holding some belongings of my daughter that I'd rather not talk about. This incident definitely scarred, maybe even ruined my friendship with Tom and his wife, and it's made me that much more protective over my daughter.
Oh no, it's creepy.
Shut up.
That's crackers.
Oh, that's not.
What's that?
You're not funny.
Let's watch
What's that
some more.
noise?
Are you sure? Watch
Yeah.
one more.
The one to the right.
What? Biking.
How is that one longer than the one before?
I don't know.
Who cares? Just let's watch this one.
Oh, fine. We'll watch one more. I thought you had to be on that 5.
No, I just want to go home by 5.
Well, obviously not because you
Wait,
want.
501?
Yes, we know that.
No, I don't need to. I just.
Oh, let's carry on with the stream then.
Sure, one more.
I was a little younger. I enjoyed off-road biking, like on bike trails in the woods. Living in rural Massachusetts, I always did a lot of exploring and moving on my bike. One of those many days that I was feeling adventurous, I got on my bike and rode down Irving Street, the road my parents' old house sat on.
Andrew, your mic is so
This road went a long
crap.
way down.
5
We
times.
basically just ran through
Andrew, your mic is so crap.
It's not.
Well, it is because my mic doesn't go like this.
trees in all directions, with the occasional farmland. I'd usually cut off this road onto an intersecting road, or I'd just ride into the woods through one of the dirt paths. This particular day, I kept going further than usual on Irving Street, hoping to find these cool bike trails one of my friends told me about a few days prior. He said the entrance would be a little past a deer crossing sign. I didn't find the sign though, but I did find a trail that veered off the road into the woods. It was wide enough to easily navigate on my bike. So I turned off Irving Street and onto the dirt trail, which immediately dropped to a decline, allowing me to instantly pick up speed. I still don't know if these were the trails my friend was actually talking about or not, but they were fun to ride on, as they were very hilly and windy. I just rode around the apparent maze of trails, having fun exploring, until I started to get thirsty and realized
I'll be
I
back
had
in a
forgotten my
second.
water
Go get a
bottle at
drink.
home.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
So I decided to cut my bike ride short and start
Mommy.
making my way back to the road. I rode around the trails trying to remember which way I came from, but it was literally a maze. Irving Street was a very quiet road, so hoping to hear the sound of traffic was kind of pointless. This was back when flip phones were a thing, and I didn't even have a cell phone yet, honestly, so I couldn't exactly just whip out my iPhone to look for directions. Then I realized I wasn't alone in the woods. There was a woman not too far away from me, just standing there watching me, kind of creepily. She was older, probably 60s. I called out to her asking for help because I'm lost. She replied in a low voice, yet I could somehow make out what she said. She said, "You shouldn't be in here." I apologized and asked for directions one more time, but she said, "Get out now," in a disturbingly sadistic way. I wasn't staying there another second. I rode off down the trail, resuming trying to find the road again. But from that moment forward, every 5 minutes or so, I'd see that lady, not too far away, always looking at me. This went on for some time, to the point that I got so uncomfortable that I hid behind this giant stone for a while once I lost sight of her. I waited for a long time, and it was getting dark quickly. I swear I was starting to freak out. Another half hour of trying to navigate this maze, and it was getting too dark to even make my way around on the bike. I could barely see the trails now. I was so tired I had to sit and take a breather, but something in my gut told me I was being watched. Like, you ever just get that feeling that you can sense the presence of someone else around you?
Yes.
I was right, because the old woman's voice broke the silence. She said, "Come here," but in a low voice, almost a whisper. This meant she was currently closer to me than I was comfortable with. I couldn't see a thing. I held myself together until she started making these cackling sounds.
Oh wow, it's so scary.
And that's when I lost it. I threw my bike to the floor. That was the last time I ever saw it. I started screaming, running through the woods. The nightmare of trying to find my way out of the woods finally ended when I saw the lights from my house not too far away. I ran as fast as I could to it and rang the doorbell.
Hang on.
An
This
older
might
man
have
answered the
ears.
door
It is
and asked
right.
her for help, for some water and a ride or something. Thankfully, he was nice and
warning
happily
you,
offered to give
it
me a ride
might
to my
hurt your ears,
house.
so I'm gonna fix
He
it.
seemed particularly
God.
freaked out when I told him about the creepy woman.
Yeah.
He said 3 people had gone missing in our county just that month alone. He also knew the trails I was talking about and said they were not privately owned by any woman, making the situation even weirder.
Okay,
I, of
I've got
course,
one
was
thing to
curious
say.
about leaving
Shut
my bike
up.
behind,
Thank
but I
you.
had to get out of there. That woman had been stalking me riding on my bike for potentially hours. She was basically right in front of me in that pitch blackness.
You're annoying me now, Andrew. I'll give him a left flag good night in a minute.
I would have done that to her,
I was
mate.
in the Apolecto one day. I came
I'm gonna
across
give
a
Andrew a
listing
left flag
for
good night if he
free
doesn't
bike.
sort his mic out.
It was a black
Not
Trek
for
bike,
the left flag.
which is a top bicycle
What?
brand. At the time, my bike was an old piece of crap Schwinn.
I'm
that I
actually
hadn't
gonna
used
show
in
you
years.
tomorrow, Andrew.
So obviously this listing caught my eye.
This is why Andrew won't be in
I
any
contacted
further
the
videos.
lister, asking for more details, like if the bike was actually free, and where and when would I be able to pick it up. The
Never.
lister responded relatively quickly, saying yes, it's for free, and said first come, first served, but to hurry because a lot of people were contacting him. I asked him for the location or address, and he sent me coordinates. That should have been my first red flag. Who sends coordinates? I asked him, how am I supposed to track the coordinates? He said download an app on my phone. Then I asked, is there a nearby address you could just give me? He said not really, because he was keeping his address to himself for privacy reasons, and there weren't really any nearby notable locations. So he gave me a phone number to text him, told me his name was Gene, and we set a meet time of 6
Gene.
p.m., as that worked for both of our schedules. I downloaded this GPS coordinates tracker app, and the coordinates led me on a 25-minute drive. As I got closer and there was nothing but woods on either side of me, I started to wonder where exactly these coordinates would be taking me. I was now 2 minutes away, and it seemed I was as far as I was going to get with my car. Exactly what I was worried about came true. I'd have to cut through the woods to get to these coordinates. I parked my car on the side of the road, but before heading into the woods like a clueless madman, I texted Gene saying I was parked on the side of a desolate road next to woods on either side, and that the app was pointing me in the direction of the woods. He replied back a minute later saying, yeah, this area is sketchy that way. It would probably be better if you just cut through the woods instead of looking for the trail. If you follow the direction it tells you, you'll find a huge clearing in the woods where I'm waiting with the bike. I already drove this far. I figured I might as well just see this through, even if I was finding this increasingly bizarre. I started my way into the woods, swiping twigs and leaves out of my way as I did my best to make it through the thick woods. I wasn't dressed for this at all, though. I did this for probably 4 minutes until I saw I was approaching the coordinates on my phone, but I didn't see any clearing in the woods ahead of me. Something wasn't right, so before going any further, I texted Gene again, saying I'm just about to be there, but can't see the clearing in the woods. I said maybe I have the wrong coordinates. A minute passed without an answer, so I tried to call him, but it went to voicemail after 1 ring. Then he texted back saying, I have bad service, I can't talk on the phone. I asked him, where should I go? I think I'm lost. He didn't answer. I waited and waited, hoping he would, but nothing. After a couple more minutes, I called it quits. I started to feel like this was all fake from the start, and I was becoming paranoid of my surroundings. The sun was going down, so I hurried back in the direction I came. I thought I would be followed, but as I looked back behind me constantly, I didn't see anyone. I made it back to my car to make a shocking discovery. All 4 of my tires were slashed. My body entered a fight or flight mode before even seeing who did this. I approached the door of the car, wondering if I should hide inside and lock the door, but as I looked into the car, I could see someone laying on the back floor hiding. I chose my flight response. I sprinted all the way down the road, saying screw the piece of crap car. I heard my car door open and slam shut. When I turned around, I just briefly saw someone running into the woods. I took out my phone and of course called 911, asking them to please hurry to my location, that I'd be running down the road. 15 minutes or so later, a police car finally approached me with its lights on. They escorted me back to the scene of the crime, my car, and took a police report, which included every detail, like the slashed tires and the text conversation. They accompanied me as I waited for my roadside assistance company to come and tow my car. I was brought safely to a shop where they changed my tires on the spot. The only thing I worried about was that man Gene getting my license plate number and possibly tracking me with it. But to this day, he hasn't. so I like to think I'm safe from that. When I was a teenager, before my friends and I had our driver's licenses, our main means of transportation was our bikes. Our town isn't that big, and all of us live a short bike ride away conveniently. We'd often go for bike rides during the day, just around the neighborhood for fun. But we really liked going for bike rides at night, especially in the town area on Main Street by the bars and hubbub. It was a Friday night, pretty late, probably approaching midnight. I biked to Main Street with my friends Jackson and Roddy. It was a 15-minute bike ride from us. There were still some people out walking around down the street. Of course, we were only like 15 or 16, so we weren't actually going into any bars, just riding around for the vibe. We hung out in one of the parking lots on the street that we'd often just chill at. At that hour, there weren't many cars left in the parking lot. It was quieting down for the night. Roddy was the one to notice when a car pulled into the lot with its lights off and kind of parked conspicuously, in a way that it was facing us. After a few minutes, Jackson pointed out that he was pretty sure the guy in the car looked like he was watching us, so we started to migrate our hangout elsewhere. We biked out the exit of the parking lot and back onto Main Street, and the car also left the parking lot shortly after us. We all knew just by a single glance at each other, and didn't even have to speak a single word to know to start pedaling fast down the road. The car trailed us, but not too close behind. The driver must have somehow thought we weren't aware of it. He still had his lights off, not to mention. I said let's get to my house, instead of just aimlessly biking around trying to lose him in the streets. My house was the closest. It took us only like 5 minutes to get there. Before the car could turn the corner onto my street, we hurried to my backyard gate and rushed inside before he could see. We entered my house through the back door. My dad was still awake, surprisingly, in the living room. He was watching a movie. We all asked him if he could check outside if the car was anywhere out there. He stepped outside for a second, then came back inside saying the coast was clear. He said we were smart to bike away as soon as we were suspicious. Anyway, my dad went to bed after his movie. And usually he wanted my friends out by that point, so Jackson and Roddy left on their bikes. I swear it wasn't even 20 minutes later that I got out of my bed after hearing something from the backyard. I went to my window and looked down to the backyard. I lifted my window up a little more, very quietly, just to better hear the sound. It was like this little clicking, rustling sound that would repeat every, 4 seconds. I stuck my head out the window, and I saw the shed door was open. But that didn't answer what that clicking sound was. I went to my dad's room and woke him up. He came with me first to my room, where I showed him the shed door, and then made him listen for the sounds. But now the sounds had stopped. The two of us rushed downstairs to the back door, where we flipped on the backyard light. My dad yanked the back door open and stormed into the yard, yelling for whoever was out there to come out. I worried about him going in the shed alone, so I came with him. But besides all the tools and other basic shed equipment, bikes and other shit like that, there was no one hiding in there. We found out on the way back inside the house that the clicking sounds I was hearing was someone trying to tamper with the outside lock, as the entire door handle was completely scraped up and almost ruined. The lock still worked, and that was only the storm door. There was still another door with a working lock behind it, so it was still safe. My dad told me to just go to bed. He'd stay downstairs for the night and keep the outside lights on. He said he had the police come the next morning before I woke up. I'm 99% sure it was that man who followed us in the car. I don't know for sure how or when he found out where I lived, and I'm not sure why he gave up on busting the lock. Anything I say would just be a guess.
You probably thought your friends leave. It's not even that hard. Well, I'm just gonna go home now. Right, see you guys.
Wait, let me end the stream first.
Yeah.
See, that's gonna be the end of the stream. Hope you have enjoyed it. The next time I'll be streaming.
Brian's the best.
No, the next time I'll be streaming will be, I don't know, some point during the week.
When you find your adoption paperwork.
Shut up. See, that's gonna be the end of the stream. Hope you have enjoyed it. I want to say thank you to Andrew, Elliot, and Ryan for
being here, because we make the stream like 50 times better. Or I make the stream 50 times better.
No, you don't. No, you don't. No.
Of course I do, mate. The only reason
Andrew, Elliot, do you want to say anything before
no,
end the
they're
stream?
not even here anymore. They went AFK like 2 years ago.
Hello.
I think they fell asleep.
I think they're dead.
Either one works for me. Right, see you.
Andrew.
He's obviously not here, Callum. Are you that dumb?
Yeah, but he would have said, Andrew Elliot, are you alive? I can't, yes.
You just swore in your stream.
No, I can't be. Oh. Hold on.
Dismiss all.
I am. Oh, the party map disconnected. Oh,
Wonder
maybe
when-
not. Guys, hello.
Just.
Oh,
end the
wait, let me just add them back. And then I'm on the stream.
Alright, I'm gonna crush your skull open now.
No.
No.
Oh, Andrew, I disconnected from the party. I'm just adding you and Elliot back now.
Why? What's the point?
Well, I'm still going to talk to them afterwards.
Hello?
Hello, I just don't know why, but my thing disconnected. Yeah, let me add Andrew back. And I'll do the outro proper, because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Well, that's probably gonna be nice, yeah.
Yeah, because
That would be like
yeah.
a good idea.
Okay, Andrew, I'll send you an invite. Join. Come on, I want to end the stream. Go on.
Finally.
Okay, sorry about that. My thing just disconnected. So yeah, that's gonna be the end of the stream. I want to say thank you to Andrew, Elliot, and Ryan for joining.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, like, it was like no problem. I just like making new videos 6 times better.
So yeah, the next time I'm streaming will be at some point during the week. I'm not sure specifically. Yeah. I want to say thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next. Andrew, would you just bolt to Elliot earlier? Did you chug? Oh my god, that's gonna be the end of the stream. Thanks for watching, and I can't be arsed.
Andrew, shut up.
Andrew, stop talking over me.
I can't help but laugh.
Andrew, apologise right now.
Sorry, yeah, very sorry.
So yeah, that's gonna be the end of the stream. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Adopted.
Shut up, skip.